do we have to read? It's important to read. 1, 2, 3. Action. Honestly, I didn't like to read like history, but I was into like romantic novels books. That was my favorite one. I would like to share my story about reading. This is start from when I was a child. I was told that I had to read until one day my best friend gave me as a gift the book Eleanor and Part. My brother used to go to the library to get some books and read at home. So after going with him, I started getting a few books, like maybe one, maybe two, but I used to get like the kids so I could practice my English. And because I was going with him, we go around the library and I would see books in Spanish, which I was surprised, and books about like self-help, like about motivation, about stories, and that was it. Years later, I hear about the Poor Dad, Rich Dad. I was like 18 years old, so I want to know more about my financial business, about money. Oh my god. That book exploded my mind because it was a book that I didn't know about money. I was raised by telling me you need to study and then you need to finish your career, and after that you need to work. Never hear like have a business. I never hear invest. I never hear save for your house. I did not. When I was reading the story, which is very interesting, I was so surprised what I learned. That was like, I want to know more. So I get more books about financial, about money, and then I got books about self-help. I was surprised how a book can help me, and also how can I learn more things. And when I went to the niche of books of personal growth, oh my god, I was totally in love with them. I want to read all of them, and not all of that. I wanted to read about business, about health, about food, about photography, about art. I wanted to read everything, but we have 365 days. Also, I was procrastinating too much, that I would get the books and then I would be like, oh, I read later, or I don't have time to read, I couldn't finish the book, and all that. So, and then I used to go to places like a library or library store, or people who had books. They would say, hey, here have some books, would you like some? And I would get all of them because I wanted to learn more about that. Until one day I see myself with a bunch of books, and I was like, okay, this goal, I'm gonna read all of them. I was in the middle of one book, and then I was like, oh, I want to read that book, so I will get it, I will buy it, and then more books. And at the end of the year, I realized that I couldn't read all of them, and I had to prioritize. Like, I need to choose the one I really want, and the one that I will use it, like the one I will need for. Okay, and after that, that's when it came the audiobooks, it came the podcast. I feel like, oh, it's kind of the same when I read a book. I'm learning something, and I can do something else, I can clean, and I can still learning. And because the audiobooks you have to pay, maybe like a year later, I found out that if you have a library card, there is an app that you can use and you can listen free audiobooks. And that time I was confused because I was like, should I read? Like, is it better reading a book than listening? Or there's like digital books, and my answers towards me to the book, because I was like, the digital book is gonna damage my eyes because I'm gonna use it more time, the computer or the laptop. And then the audiobook, I can listen in, but if I don't see the words, it sometimes hard to understand. So I decided to go back to the books. I was afraid to use audiobooks until I have the opportunity to have the free audiobooks by the library. I was in love with audiobooks, but those audiobooks who the narrator sounds like they're narrating, sounds like they are telling you a story. And also my other favorite audiobooks was when the author was reading their own book. Oh my gosh, I was fascinated. I love it. But I feel like, okay, I read, but I was overwhelmed because I have to read one book, like physical book. I also have to read one digital book, and then also have to listen to podcasts, and I also have to listen to audiobooks. So I was like, oh my god. I mean, I didn't have time for all of it, and it was different books, so I had to decide. I stay with the book. And I'm telling you all this story because it comes a lot of questions. Like for example, why do we have to read? Because when as I was younger, I was like, why? You know, we can ask to Google at that time. Now we can ask to ChatGPT. And my answers now, what do you have to read, is so you can learn new things. When you learn new things, you feel like you have more tools to live this life. And it has a lot of benefits. Sometimes I will tell myself like, okay, I'm doing this, but when is gonna help me this? And when you never thought about it, you will use it. And other thing, topics to talk about it. I will start a conversation about my books. I was like, look, I read this book. What do you think about it? This is what I found in this book. It was very interesting, and I was surprised. I was like, wow. I also listen this tip. If you read, can help you with your communication. Why? Because you have topics to talk about. And it's true. The other question I had, it was like, how do I read if I don't like it? Because it's kind of boring. So I used to follow this guy that he used to resume the books, which is very helpful. But also I feel that after he had finished the resume his plan by his perspective, I feel like I don't have to read it because I totally agree with what he say and I understand more about the book. Or would be a coincidence that we will read in the same book, and I will be like, well, I see it this way. I actually think this way. I mean, I wouldn't say or comment on his video, but in my mind I would say it, right? That's when I see, I'm like, okay, it's good that they give you a resume. Maybe like if you don't want to buy the book or you don't have the time to read, then it's a good thing to look at it like for a resume of the book. But if you have the opportunity and you really want to read it, I'll absolutely suggest you go read it, because everyone's perspective is different. But there's also a point where you like to read that you feel that book you need it, like that. Sometimes it doesn't matter in the title, it doesn't matter in the cover, but if you read like what is it a little bit, like I always like to go to the back and to see what was the topic about. I don't like to read like the reviews, but I like to know what it's about. The next question will be, so what kind of book should I read? If you are starting the habit of reading something you like, so you can keep going, that motivation like to go like, oh okay, I want to know more, then you can start with one book about something you want to learn, not something that you're interested in, not something you want to learn. And it can be so surprising that you will be like, oh, I like this and I want to know more about it. So the next question will be like, what books do you recommend? My answer would be, what do you want to learn? And from there you can go and pick a book. Now we have Google, we have ChatGPT, we have YouTube, we have TikTok, that you can ask, what books can I read if I want to know example about mine? You will have ideas and reviews. However, don't go to the book because that person say you must read it. Because like I say, everyone has a different perception. Maybe for them it was very helpful book, but maybe it wouldn't be for you. Pick the one that more capture your attentions. And the book is very tricky because sometimes the cover, the topic, it can be very interesting, and in the middle of the book you will be, this is so boring. This is so boring, I don't understand, or I don't really like the book, which is fine, and that happens to me. Yes, it's good to read. And like I say, at one point now we have a bunch of books and I didn't read it. So I learned I have to prioritize, and I feel like at least one book, at least to read one book in a month, I feel like it's a good balance. Because I used to read one book in 1 week, and or I will do like 3, 4 books a month. Like I will be reading 100 pages per day, but also I feel like I was going too fast, that the retention, it wasn't good, at least for me. No, I would be reading, but at the end of the book I will finish everything I had read. So I was like, no, this is not working. So my suggestion is like read one book once a month. I feel like it's a good balance. Learn to choose a good book is something I would tell to my younger self. It's like you are not missing something. That book you had to read. That book you need to learn from it. And from now, what I do is I pick one thing that I can apply into my life. Now, there are books that already have activities on it that will tell you need to do. You can do it, all of them, but keep one that you can keep using it in the rest of your life. Another book like novels or biographies, but there is also message from it. So try to figure out and try to apply it in your life. Just apply one thing in your life, something that you can use it, something that you will feel better, something that you're gonna grow. Okay? I wish this story helped you to understand more about reading. Yes, it's good to read. You don't have to read 100 books, one book a year, one book a month. You should be good. Okay? Take care. And my name is Fernanda. Bye bye.